Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Molesky. This is my YouTube channel. I just did a speech at the 22 convention this last weekend, and the summation of it, the end, the point, the goal was to talk about the 7 deadly sins. Whether you're a believer or not, it doesn't matter. It seems like a good set of 7 ways in which to constrict and put boundaries on your life and your actions in order to lead a more meaningful and fulfilling moral life. Okay, but to get into the 7 deadly sins, I talked about, even if you're not a believer, about the Greek myths and how they had these 7 evil thoughts, I think is what they called it. But I'm going to tell you a little story that maybe some of you know and some of you don't about Narcissus and Echo. Okay, so it begins with Hera and Zeus on Mount Olympus. And Zeus is if he has a sin, it's lust, maybe wrath, but lust. He's very lustful. He's always cheating on his wife, who's also his sister, Hera. And he was going to try to get with one of the nymphs, so he asked one of the other nymphs to distract Hera while he did so. So he said to Echo, Echo, you're very good at conversation, making people laugh, talking, arguing, screaming. I'm always hearing you. So would you, for me, go distract Hera while I go try to get it on? And Echo, of course, says yes to Zeus. So she is distracting Hera, and Hera's wondering where her husband is because she suspects something. And when she realizes that Echo's job has been to distract her, she has wrath. And she says, listen, girl, you seem to get the most joy out of distracting and talking and telling stories. So from that, I'm going to take from you, and to basically to ruin your life, to ruin your existence. I'm going to make it so you can only repeat the last of what anyone else has said. Be gone with your cleverness, girl. You are only going to be the summation of what you hear and only the last of it. So Echo is absolutely dejected. She leaves Mount Olympus and heads to Earth to sulk. She's picking flowers, she's thinking, and she sees a beautiful, beautiful man. And he is an earthly man, although he comes from a nymph and a god. Doesn't matter. He is beautiful, and everyone that sees him falls in love with him. And Echo is no different. She wishes that she could communicate to him her love and desire, but she can't. When he sees her, he says, what can I do for you? She says, for you, for you. She lays down the flowers at his feet and begins to follow him. And he begins throughout the time to get very, very annoyed with her. And the more he's annoyed and the more she can't say her feelings, the more dejected she becomes. She becomes pale, she becomes thin. And he rejects her, and she becomes paler and thinner. And finally, he says, listen, I don't want anything to do with you ever. Do you think a man like me could ever love a woman like you? Look at yourself. And she says, look at yourself. And he says, gladly. So she goes away. And because of her pain from being rejected by Narcissus, she becomes paler and thinner until there is nothing left but her echo, which you only sometimes hear. Okay? So Narcissus goes out to look at himself. And this time he is absolutely enthralled with how beautiful he is. He looks at himself in the reflection of a cool, beautiful pond. And he can't take his eyes off himself. Now, he's always thought he was beautiful, but this time he's like really in love with himself, really. So he reaches down to kiss his reflection, and what happens? Ripples. And he says, oh no, don't go. And he plunges his hand into the river, and it becomes more chaotic. He can't see himself, and he is very sad. So he says, I love you. For the rest of my life, I will stay by your side. I will never leave you because now I know what love is. And just like Echo diminishes, and you can only hear an echo, Narcissus also diminishes, and he takes root into the ground, and he turns from man to flower, which is the flower of Narcissus, which is known as daffodil, which come back every year. By the way, they like water, they like ponds. I have 3,000 on the way that I have to plant before the first frost. Anyway, I digress from that. But when I spoke at the convention, after me, Richard Grannon spoke, who I've always been a fan of anyway, but he kind of went into further detail about narcissism. And he mentioned that everyone knows about narcissism, but no one talks about echo and how we are all echo. Now, right now, days later, I think am beginning to at least intellectually understand what he was saying. How many of you are either narcissistic in some way? You will spend a lot of time looking at yourself in pictures or thinking about yourself. But more so, I think more poisonous is this echo of rhetoric that we hear. I mean, think of all the NPCs or me or you who are echoing the rhetoric of I guess there's two categories of true thinkers, people who have actually considered, observed, contemplated, thought, and created rhetoric, which is just how they explain something. So those are people like I was going to say the intelligentsia, but more so philosophers or religious people who really, really are quiet in their meditations to find the truth. Okay. And then we dummies, plebs, we don't do the logic or the grammar or the logic. We just use their rhetoric, tropes, mantras. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. Black lives matter. There's no thinking behind it. The thinking has been done for us. All we do is echo. And then the other people who think for us, which are people who know that the human mind is malleable. A lot of you think that your fellow man is stupid. It's not so. We're all basically on the same bell curve. Our IQs are so similar, but our minds are equally malleable. So all of the data that we've taken in is convincing. We are hypnotized. I've really been into thinking about hypnotization lately. So there are people who understand that we are easily malleable, easy to hypnotize. So they create their rhetoric not on thought, not on philosophy, not on religion or morals, but on something more devious, on some of the other 7 deadly sins, perhaps greed. They want all the power or the money. So they create rhetoric for you to echo so they can subjugate you and take your money or your mind. Both are bad. One is worse. Which one do you think? The other thing I want to talk about really quickly, I didn't think I was going to talk about anything, but so I've been trying to formulate this thought. Here it goes. Again, I've been thinking a lot about how hypnotized we all are. How evil and disgusting we all are. When I think of crazy, and maybe you have your own person, I would love to hear in the comments who you think is like the avatar of crazy. I think of Madonna. So Madonna, I used to like Madonna. She's always been a provocateur, highly sexual, not loyal, attention grabbing, political. She has power. She has eyes, meaning like the world has looked at her. Her life is fucking fake. Her life is so different from yours and mine. Okay? She is absolutely insane. If you've seen her face lately, it is a wonderful depiction of insanity. Okay? So if I say insane, I put Madonna at a 10. She has been hypnotized by falsities, by the 7 deadly sins. She lives with those as her guide, not as her resistance. So that would be crazy. And then when I think of sanity, I think of the Amish. Hold on, here's why. What is the closest to reality that we can get? I would say it is reality. It is not this witchcraft screen. It is not the screen, the media, the TV, even the books. I would say it is hanging out with nature, watching, observing quietly nature, contemplating it, and creating and understanding your reality based on reality. So I would say that the Amish people are the least hypnotized. They haven't seen CNN or Fox or Cosmopolitan. They don't know the sexual competition. The women don't know sexual competition. That's not reality. Or it's not healthy. I don't know. So that would be a 0. They are 0. They are on the far end. They are the most sane. And then there's the most insane. So my question is, what number are you? Are you closer to Madonna? Or are you closer to the Amish? And I think with shame, I am a 6. I am probably closer to Madonna because I have taken in, I scroll Twitter, I watch Facebook, I have seen movies. Violence, what should be shocking to me is not. Is that sane? Is that normal? Is that good? I would say it's more insane. Now, this was just a little rant, but it's what I've been thinking about lately. What do you think? Have I provoked you in any way? I hope you are well. That's it. Goodbye.